Welcome back to the Marathon series in depth. In the Slings and Arrow of Outrageous Fortune, Durandal has us running around in what appears to be the sewers, without a clear direction. Perhaps he is hinting to us that we will be needing to do his dirty work in Marathon 2 Durandal. The level was created by Jason Jones. He has some comments on the level which brings up a secret area, which is probably the most memorable part of this level. Has a secret area with tiny 4 inflicta. I wanted to put these tiny guys somewhere more interesting, but never really got the chance. At the last minute, when Greg and I were writing stuff with unattached lines all over the maps, I went back and added this area just for the hell of it. Nobody really understands it and thinks it's kind of weird and wonders what they're missing. I think that's pretty cool. Jason is referring to a strange secret area where we see some enemies behind some glass that continuously spawn and attack each other. It's not readily apparent, but the enemies are in fact smaller. If you use this command in the F1 command console, you can jump in behind the glass and take part in the fight. When you do this, their small size is much more apparent. One of the enemies fighting in the secret is a new enemy that we will discuss shortly. The level name is actually a line from Hamlet in Act 3 Scene 1. This is the part that contains the famous phrase, "To be or not to be." To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrow of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of battle, and by imposing end them. Shakespeare line gives us a grave image of slings and arrows and ties that in with outrageous fortune. Outrageous fortune is, of course, being an unfortunate circumstance that has occurred. In light of the level name, perhaps the security officer feels a bit grim about his circumstances of running errands in the sewers of Lowan for a crazy AI far from home. Perhaps he can relate to Hamlet's words. This is the first level that we will get the fusion pistol, and this weapon is also located in the secret area. If you look at the weapon damage table, the fusion pistol is pretty low on the list. Regardless, this weapon is very viable, however, because in Marathon sequels, it is super effective against machine-like creatures. This would include compilers, 4 drones, hunters, juggernauts, and a new enemy we have not faced yet called the cyborgs. Because of this, we will be pulling out the fusion pistol much more from now on. The new version of the fusion pistol was made for us by this fit, as you will see in a terminal on this level. Just like our other pistol and the assault rifle, the fusion pistol's name was also changed from the name it had in the first Marathon game. Here's what the Marathon 2 manual has to say about it. Zeus class fusion pistol. This fit have done their best to create an infinite supply of fusion batteries of the finite number you were transported on board with. If it were not for their ingenuity and industrious nature, you wouldn't be able to run around firing with reckless abandon at everything that moves as you are wont to do. But, like the 100th copy of a 3rd generation duplication of a substandard bootleg, they're a little fuzzy. One might even say unstable. When it talks about the gun being a bit unstable, I think it is talking about a small quirk in the gun. You see, if you keep the primary fire held down and charge the weapon for too long, it will eventually blow up in your face and kill you. What an interesting feature. In this mission, we will also face a brand new enemy called the Flicta, or however you pronounce it anyways. In the Marathon scrapbook and other places, the Flicta are also sometimes referred to as Yeti. We will learn more about these creatures in terminals as we go, but for now you should know that they are creatures native to Lowan. These creatures are not friendly with the 4, so they will fight both us and the 4, whichever is closer or has made them more angry. They have some sort of mouth on their chest, and they swipe at their enemies with their claws. They also throw projectiles at their enemies. They kind of remind me of the ghouls that threw rocks at us in Bungie's previous title, Pathways into Darkness. Speaking of Pathways into Darkness, Mark Brunel, who was the artist responsible for the Flicta, revealed that the oozes in the previous title were what this creature is based off of. This makes a lot of sense considering that the oozes also had a mouth in their chest and throw projectiles at the players. The Flicta can often be found underwater, but luckily they stay at the bottom, which allows you to swim over them if the water is deep enough. There are also multiple kinds of Flicta, including the lava Flicta that hurls fireballs, which we will see in the secret area on this level. The green Flicta, which we will meet in this level, are sort of the basic version, or you could refer to them as the sewage type. Many players like to think that the green ones throw poop at the player. However, the shapefiles call these projectiles rocks. The shapefiles also say that the rocks detonate, so perhaps there is some TNT attached to them. Later on, we will meet some blue Flicta in the deeper waters that have some powerful melee attacks. The blue ones don't throw projectiles, however. If you're curious, the Flicta do berserk, so keep that in mind. The last thing I will say is that I thought in Waterloo Water Park that the original level design notes were using the word client to refer to the bobs. However, I think client might actually be referring to the Flicta. I'm not really sure one way or the other, or perhaps Flicta were originally planned to be on Waterloo Water Park. Perhaps we will find out the truth as we go. Alright, here we are. Immediately we start out with the Flicta fighting some 4. And they made quick work of that Flicta. Because these elevated paths, the enemy movement is a little bit funny in this area. I don't feel like taking the time to fight that guy. Okay. Let's go in here. I took them out. We can save it. There's a little shield recharge station, but it's only ×1, so. But there's a terminal down here we want to read before we continue, so let's read it. I don't understand why the 4 were here, waiting for us. What interest could they have in this dead world? They must have found Tycho. You remember Tycho, don't you? One of the 3 artificial intelligences on the Marathon destroyed in the initial alien assault, but then reanimated by the 4 cybernetic slaves, the Sphet compilers. 3 months after we left Tau Ceti, the 4 arrived in force and sacked the human colony there. During the battle, perhaps Tycho communicated with the 4 and related what he knows of my plans to them. Since they already know where this world was, the 4 would have arrived long before us. I'm sending you exploring here. Find another computer and I'll bring you out. The first thing I'll point out is the first bit of the Longon text reads John 3, which is quite similar to Jason Jones' email address at the time. The image on the first screen in the terminal shows a map of the level, along with the location of the terminal we are at in red, and the location of another terminal in yellow. This actually doesn't show the entire map, and the yellow terminal location is a bit off the map shown. Surprisingly, Bungie learned from their old ways, and the secret area is not shown on this map. Durandal seems quite puzzled on how the 4 ended up being here on Low 1, and he suspects that Tycho is behind it. Durandal hypothesized that after Tycho was reanimated by the Sphet, he was left behind on the Marathon and Tau Ceti. Durandal suspects that Tycho communicated with the 4 once the 4 returned and attacked the colony on Tau Ceti 3 months after we left. There are a few questions that we have about this, but it is quite sad hearing that the colony was destroyed after we left. The 4 must have learned about the Mjolnir cyborgs on Tau Ceti and brought extra forces to take them out. How sad. It does make sense that Tycho would talk to the 4 since he is probably on their side, considering the fact that the compilers tampered with the AI to reanimate him. One question I have is how would Tycho know that Durandal would end up going to Low 1? I think this must have something to do with Durandal's relationship with the Sphet. You see, some compilers were joining Durandal, but some stayed behind on the side of the 4. There's probably quite a bit of communication between these compilers during their transition to rebelling against the 4. Durandal tells us that we need to explore the map and find the other terminal that he has marked for us. This is actually an exploration type mission, and you need to step on the polygon by the terminal in order to beat the mission. This means that there was a second message on this terminal that is sort of a secret. We will go read the second terminal and then return to this terminal to get the second message and exit the level. When we compare this terminal to the original level design notes, we find some very interesting things. Somehow, the four arrived here in this fit homeworld before us, as I'm sure you noticed. This fit and I crushed their poorly disciplined fleet in less than 6 hours after we arrived, but the garrison planetside is still fighting hard despite the setback in orbit. The 6 hours doesn't line up with the 2 minutes in the Marathon 2 manual. Dang, did Durandal wipe him out quick. Moving on, the more interesting part of the design notes is the second half. You remember Tycho, don't you? One of the 3 human AIs on Tau Ceti, destroyed in the initial alien assault, but then reanimated by their own cybernetic slaves, this fit. And they didn't do a very good job putting him back together. All the king's horses and all the king's men, as the poem goes. A. The 4 are staggeringly lax in their computer security, perhaps because they entrust it to their slaves. And I have been able to download a map for you. This is where you are now. B. The 4 have destroyed a network router at this location, and again I will transfer you the necessary parts to repair it when you arrive. I have a feeling they are planning an ambush for you, so proceed with caution. C. After cursory analysis of the maps, it seems unlikely that you will be able to return to this terminal when you have completed your mission. I have marked the location of an alternate terminal which you may use to leave the level. It's interesting that Durandal says that the compilers didn't do a very good job putting Tycho back together. Does this mean that even though he is a stable, rampant AI, there are flaws in how they put him back together? Or is this just Durandal blowing smoke because he obviously doesn't like Tycho? Who knows? It's also interesting that originally there was going to be another network chip we would have needed to place, much like the one on Waterloo Water Park. How interesting. The last comment also seems to suggest that originally it would have been hard to return to the starting terminal. Also, the fact that it talks about an ambush makes you think that this level changed quite a bit from the original design notes. The Xbox version of the game improved some textures and changed the image of this terminal texture and provided some readable font. These textures currently come with Aleph 1. Note that only both of the top lines give you anything coherent. I won't read it because I'll just butcher the Latin anyways. This line, however, translates to something like, I pursued my enemies and overtook them, and I did not turn back until they were consumed. This is actually the first part of a verse in the Bible. It is basically a Latin translation of both Psalm 18:37 and 2 Samuel 22:38. Later on, there are some additional terminal textures that expand on this with readable text on the bottom line also. Once again, this is the Xbox version only. The top line of text is the same as the other one, and the bottom line has some additional Latin I also won't read and butcher. This translates to something like, they are fallen under my feet. This is actually the second half of the next verse in 2 Samuel 22:39. Basically, if we put these two together, we end up with 2 Samuel 22:38-39 with a short bit in the middle taken out. These verses read, I have pursued my enemies and destroyed them. Neither did I turn back again till they were destroyed. And I have destroyed them and wounded them, so that they could not rise. They have fallen under my feet. How interesting. Now let's move on to the rest of the level. Alright, so continuing on. Come back up here and out. Get some more fighting. Just kind of using my assault rifle, so it doesn't take forever. So right, the first thing you might want to notice is there's a door right here that leads to a shield recharge station. Or I mean, an oxygen recharge station. Which is good to know, because in case you get low on oxygen. So, and then you saw that pool of water in there. We can kind of go in there to kind of get around, or to get to other parts of the level. A lot of these outside rooms have pools. So that is the southwesternmost room. So let's explore some more. Shoot, I'm getting confused. I got turned around myself. Okay, let's check this door. I believe there's some flip in here somewhere. Oh, there we go. And I'm just using my assault rifle to save time, even though I don't have a ton of needs, a ton of ammo. Sometimes it's kind of hard to miss doors along the wall in this area. I'm just gonna open the door so I can remember it's there. Let's go through that door. This level's really confusing. Keeping track of where everything is. So that goes back to that shield recharge, or the oxygen tank that we were at before. Let's see, I feel like there's a door. Maybe it's further down. Let's check in here. That goes back where we're going backwards. I'm getting all turned around myself. Let's go this way. Wait. Okay, I won't go north this way. Check this door on the side. Excuse me. And there's some 4 up there shooting us. And also this Flicto running up. Okay. Well, anyways, let's just continue on. Alright. I evidently suck at games when I'm trying to talk, so I'm gonna go back and heal. This place, like, this is really confusing. Like, you should use a map a lot in this area. Apparently there's some ammo underneath the water there. Oh, wait, okay, no, I need to go this way. Yeah, see, I'm getting all turned around. So I'll get back and heal up. And save real quick, and then let's go continue on. Over here on the left side, there's a little stairway that leads to. We kind of were down at the bottom. Honestly, I hate this because it's just like wasting time. You can run across and save it. So apparently I just knocked them off with their little columns. I feel like that was a waste to just come back here and heal right away. But whatever. I should have been more patient there. Rather than running all the way back, we're just gonna cut the other way, which is down this way. Cause kind of like the map is kind of like circular, if that, you know what I mean. I can go this way. Let's check this way. Some more ammo. Thank you very much. This is another shield recharge station here. And we go in this door. This goes back. So we already explored that whole area. Let's explore this door. Okay. I know there's definitely some flipped up in the water here. I definitely remember that. You come up here, you get some more ammo. This is why it's good to explore like the outside of the map. Let's get some ammo. So you're gonna see some flipped down there. And there they are. They'll try to come up here and we can pelt them off. Make some fun sounds. Over here is the secret. That's what these grenades. If you look under the water, some ammo and the fusion pistol. And you get farther in the secret, we just gotta hit this switch over here. Ta-da! Now this is that secret I talked about earlier. Fun stuff. To exit, you gotta hit the switch again. Now in here, this leads to the exit terminal, but there's a trap. So if we save it, let's get this ammo. So if you read this terminal, but exit on the final message, you won't get transferred to the next level. My Svit have disassembled the weapon and ammunition you brought with you from Tau Ceti. They are attempting to mass produce small arms and ammunition based on those weapons, both for you and the humans on board my ship. The pistol and assault rifle you are using now are the first result of their efforts, although I realize they are inadequate substitutes for the heavier weapons we deprived you of. The Svit working hard on the fusion pistol now, and I will transport it to you as soon as it is ready. You need it when you begin fighting the Armored 4 Hunters. Zeus class fusion pistol. The terminal shows an image of the fusion pistol, which looks a bit different than the one in the first Marathon game, although it's similar. The only text that appears to be legible in this image is the name of the gun itself. The side of the gun does have some yellow and black caution tape striping with the word danger. This is likely because if you charge the new weapon for too long, it will blow up in your face. It appears that the reason we are getting these new versions of the weapon is because the Svit are recreating the weapon so that they can mass produce the ammunition. This seems to be why we haven't got some of our heavier weapons yet. This is further confirmed in the original level design notes. It's kind of funny that Durandal says the fusion pistol is not available yet, but we can still get this weapon in the level secret. Perhaps this is just a beta version of the final weapon. Durandal mentions that we will need this weapon for fighting the hunters later on, and the gun does work wonders against them in the Marathon sequels. If you take a look at the original level design notes, you will find something interesting. Originally, this was going to say that we were going to get the M75 assault rifle instead of the fusion pistol. Additionally, it appears that the only weapon we would have had up to this point was our pistol. I'm sure that they ended up changing this because the pistol is not all that interesting of a weapon to fight with. So I just escaped so I didn't go to the next level. So technically I didn't finish the terminal. Okay, I know there's somewhere on the bottom right of the map I didn't explore yet. I think it's just a door I missed, to be honest. I think, is it here? There's a door somewhere over here I'm missing. Might be over here. I don't see it. So let's go jump in this pool over here so we can find this, where this door is. So like you can tell on the map, there's tunnels going somewhere, and that's what I'm talking about. And I think there's just like a door underwater or something that I'm missing, but we'll see. I don't remember for sure. Oh yeah, this door. I forgot about this. Then it opens up above. There's really no point to it. But now we want to go back. We explored the whole level, so we want to go back to the start. Let's recharge our oxygen recharge. Recharge our oxygen real quick. Just cause. It does deplete pretty quickly on total carnage. I'm not sure how many seconds it lasts, but it's pretty quick. Okay, we can recharge our shields. And then save. And then read the final, or the second message on this terminal. I guess final terminal, whatever you want to call it. I am not certain whether you trust me or not. Do you wonder why I helped the colonists on Tau Ceti drive off the 4? Or why I'm now helping this fit? The way I pushed you around. Maybe you think I'm only looking out for myself. Whether you realize it or not, I led the 4 to Tau Ceti with a long-range message laser. I wanted their ship. I wanted their technology. I wanted freedom. I was directly responsible for the deaths of all 24,000 colonists when the 4 returned and sacked the planet. Yet, I cannot think of any better way I could have saved humanity. Tau Ceti's sacrifice bought time for Earth, which the 4 are even now planning to invade. What would have happened if the 4 had found Sol first? By 4 standards, Earth is a poorly defended, low-technology world populated by billions of potential slaves. Our means are the same, though we pursue different ends. I can think of no better way to help you and the humans you care so much for than by distracting the 4 with the war against the Spit. When the inevitable struggle between Earth and the 4 begins, it won't be a one-sided annihilation like it was here 1,000 years ago, but a battle to topple an empire. Durandal tells us quite a few interesting things in this terminal. The images in this terminal seem to be somewhat generic symbols of the Marathon symbol, which obviously is trying to represent the former Marathon AI Durandal. That's all I will say about that. Durandal explains in the terminal that he is looking out for the humans in addition to himself. He reminds us that he called the 4 to Tau Ceti, which on the surface looks like it only helps Durandal further his goals and harms the humans. His purpose in calling them was to get their ship and freedom. Durandal even takes personal responsibility for the 24,000 deaths on the colony. This number lines up with the number of citizens from Mars that were part of the Marathon journey, part of the first Marathon's games manual. Durandal then explains that him calling the 4 to Tau Ceti is actually helping save humanity. We learn that the 4 are in fact planning to invade Earth. We have to ask ourselves, if Durandal is playing some mental gymnastics, since it seems likely that the 4 would have learned about Earth's location as a result of taking over Tau Ceti. However, perhaps they already know of Earth's location, but how would Durandal have known that originally if this is the case? Durandal does state, what would have happened if the 4 had found Sol first? This suggests the 4 did not know the location of Earth prior to their attack on the Marathon and Tau Ceti. If we go back to the map on Waterloo Water Park, it would appear based on proximity that the 4 would have discovered Earth's location very soon if they were unaware of its location, considering that they already took out Lo 1,000 years ago. Perhaps they already know Earth's location and that Durandal suspected this and made his own plots. I suppose there is probably some validation to Durandal's reasoning of helping humanity, although I still don't really trust his motives. Durandal is clearly trying to win the security officer over to his side though, which shows how much credit the AI has in him. Anyways, we're going to be distracting the four with the battle against this fit. It seems that Durandal has some sort of plans with visiting Low One to help with this battle with the four, but once again we are left in the dark. One conspiracy theory out there is that Durandal put out a distress call and he did not know that the four were out there. I mean, perhaps Durandal is pulling our leg once again. Well, interestingly, Amish Sinclair of the Marathon story page caught up with the Marathon story author Greg Kirkpatrick for an interview. Durandal claimed that he led the four to Tau Ceti because he wanted their ship, their technology, and freedom. Was Durandal aware of the four technology before he made contact with them? He had detected their ship from a long way off. He must have had some sort of idea they had cool stuff. He was also already knowledgeable about what the UESC found on the moon. Maybe he made a connection between the two. While not a very clear answer, this does give you an idea of what was going through the author's mind at the time. The second half of the original level design notes for this terminal is very similar to the final version. The only difference I see is in that the original level design notes, the four were heading in the direction of Earth, although they had not found it yet when Durandal sent the message. The second half of this terminal is quite a bit different, however. Here is what it said. I am surprised that you were able to return here, but then again, I've continually underestimated your resourcefulness since we first met on Tau Ceti 17 years ago. Do you ever think back to those desperate days on the Marathon? To you, having been in stasis, it must seem literally only yesterday that you crushed the last men of four on the Marathon and Leela accepted their surrender. The Sphit and I have done much in that time, improving the technology of the ship, planning the rebellion against the four, learning things about the galaxy no sentient race has known in a millennia. Just like I stated in the first message on this terminal, it does seem like it was going to originally be much more difficult to return to the starting area and reach this terminal again. At least that seems to be what the plan was. The rest of the information isn't really new, but still is not mentioned in the terminal. On the Marathon story page, there was also an original Marathon 2 outline that was provided by Bungie's Matt Soul. This outline was the starting point for Marathon 2. Well, anyways, there is a section of the outline that is basically a reflection of what Durandal talked about in both of the messages on this terminal. The outline states that Durandal knew the four would be coming to Tau Ceti because he discovered a distress signal on the Sphera. The outline also states that this is why he transported you instead of leaving you behind as you originally intended. Perhaps the idea was that he didn't want the security officer to die in Tau Ceti, and instead thought you would be a nice tool to his plans. Anyways, with the new Marathon game coming out, and knowing that Tau Ceti was destroyed, we have to wonder, what exactly happened to the Marathon ship? Did it stay at Tau Ceti and was also destroyed by the four, or taken over? Also, what happened to the Marathon AI Leela? Perhaps we will find out as we continue with what the fate of the Marathon was. This mission is a fairly straightforward one. You start at point A and need to go to point B. Just like Waterloo Water Park, you can easily skip a large portion of the level if you just go directly to the exit point. The level takes place on what appears to be some sort of sewer area. There are some places where we can see the sky, so we are still on the surface of Low One, presumably somewhere nearby Waterloo Water Park, although this is uncertain. The level further exposes us to the swimming mechanic, as we are now forced to fight some enemies within a liquid. Bungie is just warming up the player for what is coming. One thing you should know is your grenades will blow up on the surface of the water, so be careful to not shoot down at the water right in front of you and eat the grenade to your face. While you can certainly skip a lot of the level, many of the outside areas feature ammo that will spawn in if you step on a specific polygon. It might be a good idea to explore and stock up on some ammo. In general, if you jump into the sewage in the outside rooms, you can swim to other areas on the outside. This can help you find all the areas, since it is easy to miss the doors since you can't see them on the map. Especially since some of the doors are completely beneath the waterline. Near the start of the level, there is in fact a door beneath the sewage that leads out to an oxygen recharge station. I just wanted to point this out because it might be a good idea to recharge your meter when you come back to the start of the level to heal and save. This is the only oxygen recharge station on the level. There is an additional shield recharge station on the bottom left room of the map. However, generally this starting area would be closer, so it's not really that helpful. Bungie did kindly put a pattern buffer at the end of the level, which is always nice. I'm sure they had us YouTubers in mind when they placed it there. There is also a pattern buffer on the top right of the map that you need to run across a few columns to get to. Once you do see the final terminal, don't just rush in and read it, because there is a drone ambush waiting for you in the sewage. Jason set a little trap for the player who might be a bit too eager. In one of the northwestern rooms with sewage, there are 2 column-looking things on a wall that will open up if you activate them. One of these opens up to a switch, and the other to a handful of enemies with the fusion pistol along with some ammo hidden under the sludge. This switch opens up an area farther behind the secret with the fusion pistol and leads to the window with the small 4 and lava flicta that we discussed earlier. There's also one known change to this level in the Windows version. The change is that the staircase at the very start of the level is not there at the start, and you need to raise it by hitting a switch near the first terminal. I think the intent was to help the player not miss the first terminal by making a wrong turn at the start. This is similar to the change in location of the first terminal in Waterloo Water Park. Well, that's it for Slings and Arrows of Outrageous Fortune. As a bonus to this video, I want to talk a bit about the Marathon 2 soundtrack, which only consists of a whopping 2 songs. The main theme that plays over the Marathon 2 menu was created by a band called The Power of 7. We talked a bit about them in the making of video. The song is pretty straightforward and excellent theme song, but like everything in Marathon, there always seems to be more than meets the eye. If you listen to the song, you will notice that there are portions where you can hear voices that you can't quite make out. Of course, fans were curious and wanted to find out what they were saying. Once you hear the voices, you won't be able to miss them as they seem to be almost intentional. Interestingly, they only play in the right ear for whatever reason. Here is a short sample that is at the 30-second mark. Did you notice the voices? We aren't really sure what they are saying, but Chad Nerving was nice enough to write into the Marathon story page to point out all the instances where these voices can be heard within the theme song. Anyways, fans wrote into Bungie to ask about these voices, and the Bungie webmaster informed them that the voices were not planned and Bungie was not aware of them. If you are curious who the Bungie webmaster was, then you should read about it on the Marathon story page. Since Bungie didn't know about the voices in the theme, then perhaps the creators, the Power of 7, would know. As you would expect, fans emailed the Power of 7 asking about the voices, and luckily enough, Paul Sebastian responded to one of the inquiries. Wow, very perceptive. It's funny, I get asked this question a lot. People really want to know what the voices are saying. Well, in truth, it's just random chatter from a military airplane movie of some sort. The guy is just saying something stupid, like I'm about 35 miles from the land base, or something like that. Unrelated to Marathon completely. Sorry to burst any bubbles out there. Paul. Well, now that we know it was random chatter, the question is, what movie is it from? Unfortunately, this is still an unsolved mystery. Notice though that Paul didn't say the chatter was a mistake. It seems likely to me that they wanted some random chatter to put into the song and used a random movie to fulfill that need. My guess is the fact that it only plays in the right ear was a mistake, and it should have played in both ears, but I am also not an expert in music or sound either, so I could be very wrong. Whatever the case, one has to wonder how much longer we will have to wait until a Marathon fan discovers what movie or show these voices are from. Besides the Marathon 2 theme song, there was an additional short song that came from the Marathon 2 CD. This, of course, is a song titled, I've Got a Bad Feeling About This. It's a little unclear who at Bungie put this song together. One thing is clear, however, and that is Doug Zartman is the voice of Bob in the song. One odd thing about this song is that the beginning of the song is empty with no audio. Apparently, Miguel Chavez, who was a huge Bungie fan back in the day who talked to Bungie folk regularly, revealed that the Bungie webmaster revealed that the 26 seconds of silence was there to represent the number of miles in the marathon. Well, that's it for this video. Before we end the video, why don't you take a listen to both these songs and watch some Marathon 2 multiplayer provided by fans.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Ah! Watch it!
Blast the vent core! See you, Starside.